Hello and welcome to KamenRider Blackman, and welcome to KamenRider Ryuki, and welcome to KamenRider Ryuki Month. That's right, the next 4 weeks of October are going to be about KamenRider Ryuki, as I'm going to review the show as well as the movies. So, for right now, let's pop up the schedule. Today, we're doing the show proper, while next week, the week of the 6th, we are going to look at the 13 Writers special. For the week of the 13th, it's going to be the episode final review, and for the last week of Ryuki Month, we are going to look at the Writer Time special that came out this year. And so, that's the schedule for now and the next 3 videos. So let's get on to Ryuki. So, first things first, let's talk about the opening. This opening is fantastic. If you see in my top 10 KamenRider openings list, what are you doing here? Go check that video out, because this opening is on it. I love the lyrics, and I love how the song describes some of the motifs of the show, and the best part about it, awesome. Everything about this opening is awesome. Once I really started binge watching the show, of course, I started, skipping it. But for when I didn't skip it, I jammed out to this song almost every time. But now, getting on to episode 1, let's begin the show with someone getting eaten. That happened, but I could, of course. But yeah, swallow for a moment. People get eaten in this show, and I like that. It's a dark aspect of early Heisei KamenRider that I honestly enjoy, because compare it to Neo Heisei, depending on the show, you don't see anything that shows there are consequences once you become a writer. You're just in it. And I say that coming off of Forze, where the monsters didn't really kill people, they just terrorized instead. And like the last show I watched, where people were really getting killed and gave it a sense of consequence, was Agito, and that was months ago. Anywho, we start off at a traffic incident between a motorcycle and a truck, where we meet our protagonist, Shinji Kido, who is a novice reporter who gets decked by an angry truck driver as they argue over who's in the wrong. Shinji works for Ore Journal and is assigned to help his co-worker, Reiko, to assist her in investigating a scene. Someone's missing from their home, but there are no signs if someone was kidnapped or anything. Shinji does his own investigation on the matter, and it ends with him finding a dragon through a window, acting as a glimpse into the mirror world. More on that later on. Shinji finds a blank advent deck on the ground and goes to show his coworker to make up that his investigation went south, and instead the deck starts to sort of alter him. I don't know. Following Shinji is our secondary writer, Ren, and Yue, who notices Shinji's discomfort, and then he falls through a reflection, sending him into the mirror world. Basically, what the mirror world is everything in reverse. It's a fighting ground inhabited by monsters, and you can only be there for so long until time runs out. So, Shinji falls through, he's transformed in a blank rider form, and following after him is Ren as KamenRider Knight. So now, let's talk about his suit. KamenRider Knight's suit is not bad, it's pretty good. It's based off of a medieval knight, and the animal motif for it is a bat. And for the moment, I don't know if it's just me or not, but if you think about it, now this is a question I have for anyone watching this video. Can you tell that Knight's animal motif is a bat in his suit? Because I don't know if anyone would get lost by that just by the helmet and how it goes up like that to signify the bat wings. And this is just an interesting fact, but under the helmet, or at least that's part of the helmet, he does have eyes, but they're hidden in the gated visor. But besides that alone, Knight's suit is pretty phenomenal. It's dark, and that's all it is. He's a Dark Knight rider, and it's amazing. That's cool. And so, before now, Shinji was with Reiko and noticed a monster in the reflections going after her, which caused his trip. Ren finds the monster and deals with it, and kills it with the most Batman-like finisher ever, jumping into the air, having your cape swirl into a drill, and pierce into the monster. That is dope. After the beautiful finisher was performed, the dragon comes back and tries to light them up. The dragon, by the way, is a contract monster. All you have to do is bond with it to form a contract, and poof. Not only will it stop trying to kill you, but you will also become a KamenRider, to which Shinji does so, officially making him KamenRider Ryuki. Now, let's talk about his suit. I really like Ryuki's suit. And it's that chest armor that he has on. It's not too small, so it's not acting like a breastplate, but it's also not too big to where it's taking up his whole body. It's just, that's about it. Like, the helmet's good too, but that chest armor, that's like my favorite part of the entire suit. It's not too huge, it's not too little, it's not too short. It just looks amazing. And while we're at it, let's talk about a couple of Ryuki's moves, specifically his strike vent and his final vent. The strike vent is awesome because he gets that. The strike vent for him is he summons the head of a dragon as it comes down to his hand, and then with his contract monster, they send a fireball to light up the enemy and burn them to death that way. And his final vent is he jumps into the air with the dragon right behind him, and the dragon lights a fireball to send him off to kick his enemy to death. That is something amazing. Like, doing all of that alone, and then to top it off, you do it with a dragon right behind you just to show how cool you are. And back to Ryuki's strike vent for a minute. I like that dragon head. That he has for a weapon. Like, I just really like it. I think it's awesome. Anywho, after Shinji officially becomes Ryuki, Ren immediately tries to kill him. It's the start of their relationship, because we're gonna get a bunch of writers in this show. So, because this show is the first to have so many writers, like, this show starts off having just so many writers, and it's an occasional thing that we're gonna get on really rare occasions, like in Kabuto and Gaim. So if there's anyone who plans on watching this show, like after this review, or just plan on watching this show in general, look forward to that. But yeah, Ren tries to kill Shinji, and it takes Yui to break a window with a sign to get his attention and say, "Cut it out." And it ends with Shinji owing Ren 30 grand, since he paid for the damages. Let's talk about the contract monsters in the show. They all look great. Like the ones that are just monsters and the ones that writers bond to, they all look fantastic. And I actually have a couple of which one's my favorite? I have a I might have a I think in this I have like maybe 2 or 3 favorites, but they all come a bit later. But the first two we get, Darkwing and Dragredder, they're awesome. They're a bat and a dragon, and they both. This is an awesome thing about the monster. This is another great thing about the monsters. They're actually part of each writer's finishers. And there's another thing. Oh yeah, and just while still talking about Ryuki and the monsters and whatnot, of course, my first exposure to KamenRider in general was the adaptation of this Dragon Knight, and for the longest time when I was a little kid, I looked at the contract beasts of the show like they were freaking Zords. Zords that could launch you into the air and blast you in a fireball just to destroy a monster. But yeah, they look good, and so do the monster designs in this show. So, before going any further, I should explain Yui's connection to the Rider War and with Ren is through her brother Shiro Kanzaki. He's been missing for years and had involvement in the creation of the Rider War. I mention that now because of the different kinds of characters we're gonna get. Like in episode 5, we get a new rider who is not a good guy, and he is KamenRider Scissors. So, let's talk about his suit, shall we? I don't really mind it as much. It's alright. It's based off a crab, so the chest. Okay, let me pick something. I like the chest, but here's the thing too. It's wait. Okay, yeah. I like the chest, but Scissors is based off of a crab. And so, I'm sorry, what I was doing before was looking at the suit and just realizing the shoulders because they look a little weird because of the legs sticking out in the back. And then I took a moment to count them, and I was like, oh yeah, there are legs in the back because crab, and how many legs a crab has and whatnot. But yeah, this suit is alright, I guess. I don't... The man who is Scissors is assumed to be the owner of an antique store, but it turns out that the store owner is dead, and Scissors was really his crime partner, who was a corrupt cop who used his contract monster to kill him and other innocent people. Scissors doesn't last long though, since he lives up until the next episode, once Ren gets involved after he kidnapped Yue because Shinji left their information with him. Knight and Scissors fight, and Knight sends a blow into his advent deck, and final vets him there. There are 2 important signs when a contract with a monster is broken. When the beast card is destroyed, and in this episode, when the deck is completely broken. Because after that, Scissors' monster immediately turns on him and eats him. The first rider death of the show, everybody. Keep it cool because this is only the beginning. After Shinji saw what he saw, Ren slaps it into him that this is what happens, this is the Rider War, they're all fighting until one survives. That's going to be Shinji's biggest issue and weakness for the most part. His inability to fight other riders. And at the end of episode 5, we get a small cameo that of a new green rider that goes into episode 6, KamenRider Zolda. So let's talk a bit about him. 1. his suit is very, well, top heavy. I was gonna say robotic. Well, yeah, his suit's a bit robotic. But it's not bad. It's just all the silver on top and all the guns. Ooh boy, he is all the guns and all the tech gear. He is KamenRider RoboCop. Anywho, but his suit alone though, I don't mind it as much. Like with some of these suits in this show, I don't really hate any. This is probably like the one rider show where I look at some of the suits, I'm like, all right, this is good, or this is all right. But yeah, this one is fine for the most part, and he's based off of a bull. And so, anywho, Kamen Rider Zolda is a famous lawyer named Shuichi Kitoa. He introduces himself by running into while running away. No, he introduces himself to Shinji while running away from some clients of his that he embezzled money from. But to be fair, the clients were from a shady company. But spoiler alert, Zolda is an asshole, and he also has a butler, Goro, who could kick ass, so he is immediately awesome. Zolda's further character development comes when he's hired to be Shinji's lawyer after he's falsely accused of abducting Shimada. Did I mention that this show is also funny? Because when Shinji is arrested, Ren is a dick for messing with him while he's incarcerated, saying, "Don't get too close, he's a mad criminal." Like, they're fucker. Like, trust me, we're like, alright, on a serious note though, trust me, we're gonna get a real madman in this show. Just stick with me. Shinji's proven innocent, not by Shuichi, but by the kidnapper's daughter, who testifies for Shinji that her dad did it because her mom is in the hospital sick and her dad can afford the surgery that she needs. Shuichi, while having a doctor's appointment, pays for the surgery, and we learn that he's dying of cancer. So, Shiro Kanzaki did quite a job to choose those with quite motivations to become writers like Zolda. Ren's motivation, on the other hand, is revealed in a two-parter. So, in episodes 11 and 12, after Zolda's final vent attack wipes out everything, Ren takes a hard hit, causing him amnesia. And step by step, we learn that he's fighting for his girlfriend, who's in a coma, because of a lab accident that Yui's brother was doing. So, episode 13, episode 14, Ren meets a fortune teller who happens to be a writer, KamenRider Raya. Now, as always, holy crap, I skipped through. Anywho, Raya's suit. Let's talk about it and how much I actually quite like this suit. I like the color on it, which is raspberry red, and this suit does take up his entire chest, but I don't care. Actually I dig it. And Raya is based off of a manta ray, I believe. Yeah, Raya is based off of a manta ray. He also has a couple of awesome cards in his deck too. Like, what's one of his cards that he has? I think it's Copy Vent, where he can actually copy someone's weapon, and he can use it for himself. That's a good one. Anywho, yeah, but back to Raya's suit though. Another interesting fact: it has a ponytail. Well, for a weapon, he also has a whip too, so alright. Anywho, KamenRider Raya is Miyuki Tezuka, an accurate fortune teller who wishes to stop the Rider War, so he immediately gets along with Shinji since he finds riders fighting each other to be pointless, 2. That was a weird way to say 2. Like 2. Anywho. To Ren, however, he's really invasive, being able to learn his motivations and look up info on him because he's Philip from W before W. Anywho, he has his, oh crap. I'm gonna say more on him later once we get to one more person. Right now, episode 15, new writer, KamenRider Guy. So let's talk about Guy. I absolutely love his suit. He's based off of a rhino, and so for a rhino, there are only very few colors that could work, and silver and black are awesome. I also just fucking love how huge it is, man. Because I think he's based off like a grappler or something. But I still get like this medieval knight look from him. Like even the horn that he has on the side looks awesome. I don't personally mind it because once again he's based off of a rhino. Or he can just straight up shoulder jab someone with it. And I also love his weapons. Oh my god. His contract piece is like my favorite. I think his contract piece is called Metal Galus. And it's like a rhino-like monster that looks like a mad dog. And it's phenomenal. Along with his final event. Just everything that Guy had. I just like the KamenRider Guy suit and gear in general. It's one of my personal favorites. Anywho, he was discovered as part of this video game club at a college. He was a manipulator to an RPG game where people actually fight each other with real weapons in real life and just maim each other. Against Shinji, of course, like he is hesitant to fighting other riders, which gets his ass kicked and his contract card to Drag Rider stolen. Great job! More on Guy. His name is Jun Shibaura, and he comes from a wealthy family. I mentioned that because in the next episode, he buys Ore Journal and is in charge of it, so he can promote his game so that Ore Journal subscribers could kill each other. If that's actually possible, I have no idea. The zenith on my knowledge of computers is how to use Microsoft. Anywho, Ren gets the card back while fighting Guy as soon as he's about to finish him. Oh, yeah. As soon as Guy is about to finish him... KamenRider Knight is about to finish KamenRider Guy, and he hesitates, which leaves him open to attack. Guy even proclaims that he doesn't have it in him to kill someone. And honestly, I don't blame him. Guy can see it, Tezuka can see it. Ren's starting to change as a person. He's not alone anymore. He has Yui and Shinji to care for, vice versa. Like, the more you hang around someone, the more of a relationship is building, and now it's starting to change him. But with more writers coming, and to consider what he's fighting for on his mind, he can't allow himself to get soft. Episode 18, we come off from the last episode where Shuichi has a meeting with a potential defendant, which ends with Shuichi flat out refusing to be his lawyer. His defendant is Takeshi Asakura, and he is a sociopathic serial killer. He's going to be on trial and sentenced to 10 years in jail until Shiro Kanzaki appears before him in his cell and offers him to become KamenRider Oja. And he does so and breaks out of jail. Yeah, Asakura is scary. His mentality is he'll kill you if you rub him the wrong way, and he hates to be vexed. Like, that's his whole thing. He doesn't like things that vex him. Well, that's just something I got when I was watching this show. It didn't say vexed, it said pissed off. But yeah. Anywho, let's talk about KamenRider Oja. This suit is one of my favorites. It's a tough decision between Guy and Oja on which suit is my favorite because I love both of them. Like, Guy's suit that I like for the structure of it, Oja's suit I freaking love because of how, one, purple is my favorite color, and two, he's based off of a cobra, and combined with his personality, it makes this suit completely intimidating. Oh, while I'm at it, let's also talk about his contract beast, which is a giant fucking cobra, Venosnaker. And dear Lord, how terrifying it is to see a giant cobra just coming to kill you. It's really, I'm not even lying. It's so awesome. It's so awesome, and that's how terrifying it is. Anywho, Asakura's escape makes headlines as the whole city is in an uproar. Not knowing where he is, Asakura is soon founded and he escapes to take over a restaurant and takes a little girl as insurance. He has the whole restaurant held up with only one request for Shuichi, since he was his lawyer and he refused to represent him. His request is met, and they leave through a mirrored fight. In episode 19, their fight soon collides with Night and Guy's fight, so basically all 6 riders are together and fighting. Shuichi is just done with this and uses his final vent to kill Oja, and with the blast so huge, of course it could take out anything and anyone just around. And with such a huge blast, unfortunately, we get our next rider death. Oja uses Guy as a shield, thus he takes all of the finisher damage, and he's completely weakened. Oja then uses his finisher to kill him. So let's talk about Oja's final event for a moment. This is like the scariest thing to ever look at. A freaking Kamen Rider running at you, and a snake hissing at you just to see him backflip into the air right behind the snake, and then he double kicks you to death. Seeing all that in motion makes you want to pee your pants. Like, that's terrifying. Run. There's someone trying to kick you, and there's also a snake, so it's one or the other. You might want to run. With that, Guy dies, and Ryuki now tries to fight Oja in shock. Shinji, of course, still uses his primary style of technique, swinging his sword and letting it hit something. It is not enough, and he still gets his ass kicked. But Oja's fighting style is magnificent. That's my legitimate reason to why I like their first fight, because like Oja's fighting style, it's more ravenous and dangerous. Is it an amateur style? Yeah, but he's in control of it because of how insane he is, which makes him so much stronger. After that, Ren suddenly helps Asakura with escaping cops so that he could hang around him to get his edge back of worrying for oneself. Shinji soon, of course, in the next episode, like, oh yeah, this is episode 20 by the way, finds Ren and Asakura to refocus his efforts on stopping the Rider War, and does so by committing himself to fighting other riders. More on that later. Shinji and Asakura fight, and instead Ren jumps in to save Shinji, and in the end of episode 20, Guy's monster, Metal Gallus, is chasing after Oja for killing his master, and Oja reveals to have another contract card on him and gains control of him and accesses Guy's weapons and finishers. And now he has 2 contract beasts. Well, that's Ducky. Oh, holy crap, wrong button. Episode 23. We finally learn more about Tetsuka and more into why he became a writer. He became Raya in place of his friend who was a promised future pianist until he was attacked by Asakura and ended up with broken hands. Shiro discovered him and offered him to become a writer, and he refused. So Shiro sent the monster to kill him instead. Tetsuka also dies in this episode, but before he does, he gives a new card that's a power-up to Ren because Shiro gave it to him to use so that to persuade him to fighting. It doesn't work, and long story short, Shiro orders Asakura to kill him. And after that, he dies, and Knight goes after Oja, using the card, giving us the secondary rider's final form, KamenRider Knight's 5. So, let's talk about the suit. Knight's survived form is pretty dang cool, actually. He switches from black and I don't know what that darker shade of blue is, to now a more brighter, well, still dark, a brighter blue and gold. And so he gets gold in the good areas, and it looks pretty damn awesome. Not to mention his contract monster, Darkwing, now gets upgraded because now he matches the color scheme and can also become his bike for the finisher. But yeah, Knight Survive looks amazing. And of course, with this being a final form debut, Oja gets knocked back, well deservedly, if I may say so. Speaking of which of Asakura, it's time for KamenRider Blackman's first psychology lesson. Episode 24. Reiko discovers Asakura's hideout to learn why he is how he is. A long time ago, when he was a child, his family died in a house fire, and only he and his little brother survived. But he thinks his brother died in the fire. So everyone, except Ren, thinks that if they bring Asakura's brother to him, maybe he'll change and he'll turn himself in. Spoiler alert, he doesn't. He doesn't, and he was the one who started the fire. He wanted his brother brought to him so he can partially finish the job. So he calls Venosnaker to eat him. Oh, and to add on to the terror, another contract card for Oja, and now he has Tezuka's monster. And with all 3 monsters, the next thing I'm going to talk about is just a fuck you. He has yet another damn card. It's the Unite Vent card. And with the Unite Vent card, all those 3 monsters, Venosnaker, Metal Gallus, and Evil Diver, I believe, they come together to create a new beast called Genocider. Now, who the fuck gave him all that stuff to be this damn powerful and scary. Now I'm just talking about Genocider. All those monsters merged together. Dear Lord. It's like that long neck is petrifying, but he can now fly, has distance. He can now fly, has close and long range, and still has that damn horn to just pierce the hell out of you. Like, this is just a fuck. That's just a fuck you, man. Like, seriously. Anywho, episode 27, The 13th Rider. This title won't make sense here because in the show there are 12 riders, and this is a new writer's intro episode, thus making him the 8th. Numbers. Shiro Kanzaki has went on in the shadows for long enough and now enters the game as the final boss, KamenRider Odin. And yes, in show, he states that he's the boss level. Anywho, KamenRider Odin, let's talk about his look, shall we? And how... Let's see. Okay, Odin, here it is. I'm looking up the picture. Anywho, yeah, KamenRider Odin. Let's talk about his suit. It looks big up top, but I still like pieces of it. Oh crap, I'm not up to the mic. Sorry. I still like how the suit looks. Like, one thing that's interesting though, that what are two colors you never see together? In this, it's brown and gold, and I never really realized that I forgot that brown and gold actually go quite nice together. But yeah, I wish that, if I could say one thing though, I would like to see that in this suit a bit more, because while looking at it up close, there's still plenty of black that takes over. So guess that's my one nitpick really. But besides that, I like everything else. I like the head, the shoulders, the aesthetic on the suit, which is all the same for all the other riders. But yeah, the chest could use a bit more color is all. Anywho, throughout the whole series, say around the time Tezuka gets introduced, Yue's been investigating about her brother and everything that he's been doing up till now, and it all leads back to a lab incident a year ago, which is where and when this all started. Shiro, which I should mention again, is Yui's brother, and 1 year ago, he was performing some experiments and projects that were creating the Rider's Arsenals and the mirror monsters in the mirror world. How does he do all that? Honestly, I don't know. And this is where the show loses its points for me. Like, throughout the whole... this show is about Kamen Riders fighting in a substitute battle royale dimension that you can only enter through glass reflections. Sometimes other material reflections, but in general... And yet, throughout the entire freaking show, we never know how he did it. The show will sometimes hint to us as if they were going to explain, and yet they never do. But while I'm still talking about this stuff that this show does not explain at all, like, this show has a problem with not explaining itself in some areas like that. Not to mention, it also doesn't just straight up address some things, so we wouldn't be so caught up in suspense. Like with Zolda having cancer, they never actually say that he has cancer. Like, they just say he has a terminal illness, but we never know what disease he has, and it takes having to look it up ourselves and go to the wiki to see what he actually has. Anywho, sorry for getting off topic. At the said university, there are some scientists there, and then a preview of a new writer. So put a pin on that for now, as we talk about episode 34. After Ren hears news about his girlfriend's condition, she doesn't have a lot of time left. Ren has a down attitude about it for the whole day and doesn't bother to explain to anyone why. Ren Akiyama, KamenRider Jackass. To later collide with that, Shinji gets a survive card from Shiro. Ren challenges Shinji to fight in context how I found it. He's either desperate or since his girlfriend's dying, he's got nothing to lose, so he's just gonna do whatever and let that, well, end him or let the chips land where they lie. I just made the KamenRider Jackass joke, but stuff like this is why I like Ren as a character. I see what's happening with him and sympathize and understand him and what he's doing. He's still a douche, don't get me wrong, but you get why he is how he is. Also, episode 34 is Shinji's final form debut, Ryuki Survive, so let's talk about that for a bit. Ryuki Survive, it's not bad. I like the helmet. Like he had, let me think. I like the helmet because the Chinese dragon antennas that he have, they're longer. And the suit becomes more crimson and Drag Redder now becomes a motorcycle. It's all cool. Also, Drag Redder is a motorcycle. Also, Drag Redder can now become a motorcycle and still resume a dragon form too. Oh, well, the bat can do that too. And I think it's... Oh yeah, the bat can do that too. But... Yeah, I just wanted to point... Yeah, that was just something that I liked. Anywho, episode 36. Eri wakes up, which by the way, that's his girlfriend's name in case I forgot to mention that. Eri wakes up and the rest of the episode is about telling Ren about her to calm his recklessness. Zolda and Oja fight for a bit too, only for Shuichi to trick Asakura into getting him arrested. He also escapes going into prison, so crap. Moving on, after Asakura escapes, Shinji catches up with him to fight. After Asakura fucking knocks out a couple of police officers. Jesus. It sucks that I see cops pull their guns out more on innocent bystanders than actual fucking serial killers. Anywho, Ryuki and Oja fight only because Ryuki has a power-up form. Does he make it through without getting, well, his ass kicked less? But the one who does it in for Oja is a new writer and his contract monster, KamenRider Tiger. Now let's talk about him. Tiger's suit is really... Suit. This suit is pretty dope. It looks like it could shake around a lot, but then again, oh wait, no, I just realized those are the shoulder pads. Never mind. Anywho, his suit is not bad. I quite like it. I don't know if that's purple or indigo, but it works. It like Tiger's suit is pretty phenomenal. It's another one of my favorites. Alright, let me get this out of the way right now for some of my personal favorite suits in the show. Guy, Oja, and Tiger. There's another suit down the line too, but I'll get to that later in like another video. Anywho, After Tiger mops the floor with Oja, Asakura is turned into the police. And at the end of episode 36, going into the next episode, Yui is dragged into the mirror world by another writer, Kamen no Pseudo Rider Alternative. Now, let's talk about his look, shall we? Alternative looks not bad. He's pretty sleek and pretty dark, and he's not that bad. And I like his belt. It's different from the others. Which, speaking of which, it brings me to another thing. Like, Alternative is not considered a KamenRider. He's considered a pseudo rider, which is weird only because he doesn't aesthetically look the same as all the other riders. But he still uses the same gears as the others in the show. Which, by the way, even when I look up pseudo riders, I did not get a lot. I just find it weird for this particular case where there's just that one rider that stands out from one detail, and so he's, well, different. Anyway, back to the show. Both Tiger and Alternative are two of the scientists from the accident, named Satoru Tojo and Hajime Nakamura, and they both follow under a Professor Kagawa, as they aim to end the Rider War by sealing the mirror world, since they really have it out for Kanzaki for what he did. The three of them follow this idea to save the many, to sacrifice one is necessary, and that's the way to become a hero. The one who absolutely follows it the most is Tiger, because he kills Alternative in this episode. Episode 39. Due to being down one rider, Professor Kagawa becomes Alternative Zero, the prototype model of Alternative that looks exactly the same as Alternative. Seriously, I don't see the difference between those suits at all. If anyone could find the differences, please tell me, because right now, or at least I don't care, they both look the same. Episode 40. Asakura breaks out of jail once again. That's that. And episode 41, we get a new and the last rider before the finale, KamenRider Emperor. So, let's talk about him. Alright, starting off with his look. Right. Emperor's suit. Now, is it just me, or does he I'm being honest right now. It could just be me, but his helmet sort of reminds me of the Mighty Morphin Black Ranger. And I think it's because of the horns down at the down in the visor area. Like, that's where it reminds me of the Mighty Morphin Black Ranger. But besides that, the rest of his suit is not bad. He's based off of a gazelle. And you want to know something else? His contract beast is like any gazelle. His contract beast is basically all of the gazelle-looking monsters in this show. He controls all of them, and he controls all of the gazelle-like monsters in this show, and can summon them all to create a freaking stampede. How the fuck do you get that kind of power, man? He has more contract beasts than Oja, and it's just a gazelle, a common animal that forms herds. What the dude? I'm sorry, just dude. Anywho, KamenRider Emperor. His name is Mitsuru Sano, and he is the most upbeat, writer in this show because he's all about wanting money, and it's hilarious. No, seriously, I think he's funny. I'm greedy funny in a way that's not distasteful because he introduces himself to different writers, offering himself as a mercenary. He goes to Ren and Shinji and kisses their asses as if he was a towel. And as soon as he brings up that he'll do it for pay, Ren looks at him and goes, "Get the actual fuck out." Anywho, episode 42. Tiger kills Alternative Zero because he's insane and is all about wanting to be a hero by sacrificing those who are important to him. And no, don't worry, he gets his comeuppance once he gets his ass handed to him. Not by he gets his ass handed to him hot by Oja and then later Zolda. And while injured, Satoru takes shelter with Mitsuru since, he has no one left in his circle. So Mitsuru takes him in and declares that they're friends. And that's sweet, although I still don't like Satoru. And here is why. He wants to become a hero so that people would like him. There is only one person. There's only so many occasions that a person could use a Dr. Cox gift, to which I do and have one. Episode 44 opens up more about Mitsuru. He's actually a former rich kid whose dad cut him off so that he can get a job and live on his own, basically to learn the value of money. His dad passes away and he inherits his company. Mitsuru's whole motivation for becoming a writer is to live a happy, comfy life. And now that he's going to be something, he doesn't need to be a writer anymore. Shocker of all oblivious shockers, there's no getting out of the writer war, and Shiro reassures that Mitsuru and threatens to kill him if he doesn't fight. Mitsuru and Satoru have been quite friends for the moment, until Satoru appreciates his friendship with Mitsuru so much that he kills him next. While he's on a business meeting / a date with a company partner's daughter, Mitsuru was out with a girl that he was beginning to like, and she was beginning to like him back. But once she was almost attacked by a monster, Mitsuru runs to go deal with it. And after the monster is dealt with, and Emperor and Tiger are double teaming Ryuki, Tiger stabs him in the back and leaves him for dead, until Oja was conveniently there. Thank you, Toshiki Inoue, for your blatant writing, and ultimately kills him. And yes, Toshiki Inoue did write that episode. I looked it up. Mitsuru's death was like the only one that I sort of felt for because he wasn't ultimately a bad guy. He meant well, but it came out wrong. And seeing him stuck in the mirror world, about to die, holding a piece of broken mirror, looking at his date calling for help, and his last words were, "I just wanted to be happy," and then he disappears. I will admit that I did feel sorry for him for the most part. And even in the newspaper the next day, he's considered missing. Episode 45, we're now reaching the end game, and we're back with learning about Yui. Yui has some connection to do with the mirror world because in episode 45, she starts to fade away, little by little, but not entirely yet. Anna has until her 20th birthday to live, told to her by a mirror version of her younger self. Episode 46. This is Tiger's last episode. After he reaches his peak of insanity, Oja does him in, but he doesn't fully die yet. He limps in pain and sees a father and son about to get hit by a truck, and he pushes them out of the way and takes the hit. And in the paper the next day, he's labeled a hero for saving the father and son. More on that when we get to the character analysis. Let me get one quick drink of water. This is what it's like hearing me talk for going on 1 hour. Episode 48. Shiro summons Shinji, Ren, and Asakura for an important announcement. The Rider War is ending in 3 days, and if no one wins, no one gets nothing. And Shuichi has been disqualified on account that he's gonna soon die of cancer. Yui finds them and pleads to her brother to stop this because she doesn't want any more people dying for her sake. And she takes it as far as threatening to commit suicide by jumping off the high-story building just to defeat the purpose. She jumps, but then Shiro summons a monster to save her and lock her away. Then Shiro encourages Ren and Shinji to finish the battle. But of course they go to save Yui. Episode 49. Yui originally died when she was a child, and her mirror counterpart jumps into her body to save her. Shiro is there and sees everything. The reflection says that she has up until her 20th birthday to live. Shiro promises that she won't let his sister die, so he created the Rider War to prevent his sister's death. So whoever wins gets one wish for whatever they want, and his sister could still live. In a clear sense, I get it, and that's good reasoning. But when you could create life in a whole nother dimension, I'm failing to see why one would need people killing each other to save his sister when you could basically play God and just grant her another life already. Tangent over. Yui resists for as much as she can, but eventually she does fade, and her last words were she'd wish for her brother and everyone to be happy, and then dies. Shiro has lost it and still urges them to fight. And next, it's Yui's birthday, and Shiro sends monsters out all over the place, and they finally swarm and attack humans in the real world. And I just like it. Like, this is an actual war. This is an actual war and final battle. And it looks like a war and final battle. And it's just two people alone fighting it all because Ren and Shinji are out to fight all of the monsters there. This is where it gets real. Shinji gets stabbed in the back while saving a little girl who couldn't find her mommy. And even after that, he keeps fighting on. Like, oh my god. He's injured and he still keeps going until him and Ren beat all of the monsters. And now he's about to die. And I think Shinji's last words were, one of his last words were, he finally knows what he would have wished for, to seal the mirror world. Even if it was to cause trouble for others, he would be saving others. and then he dies there. Like, dude, oh my god. The death of the, well, in finger quotes, main writer before the death of the main writer before the end of the show. Like, Forza don't got shit on this. Anywho, with his only friend now gone, Ren now goes to face Odin one final time. Great episode. I love the drama and action and everything else above. And I know I complained about one thing before, but that being the motive for Shiro doing everything is a brilliant one. The mirror reflection could leave, and there's a glimmer of Yue coming back to life there. Although my point still stands that about the plot holes that I pointed out. If I may go down the negative rabbit hole more, this is where the show takes a turn. Now, the final episode, episode 50. Zolda and Oja are still around. Shuichi dies, so Goro becomes Zolda to finish Shuichi's business with Asakura, and then he dies. And then Asakura dies suicide by cop once he realized he wasn't fighting Shuichi. I'm going to say this now and leave out the suspense for everyone expecting it. The final episode of this show is very abrupt. Stuff like Shuichi and Asakura's beef survives up till this point, but to me it feels out of place, like this is it, this is the end, and it should all be focused on Ren and Odin. So both Zolda and Asakura's deaths should have happened earlier. Speaking of which, Knight and Odin, Shiro now realizes that he was wrong and this isn't what Yue would have wanted, and so he forfeits. Well, that's just totally out of character considering how many times he ignored his sister's pleas before. And now, well, there's your sense of a happy ending. Ren makes a wish to save Eri, and then time's restarted or time's been altered. Again, you can restart or change a timeline, but you can't grant someone back to life. But anyway, everything's back to normal. The Rider War has been erased. There are no KamenRiders. Shinji is still alive. Oddly enough, Shuichi and Goro are still alive. And Tezuka, Satoru are, especially Asakura, are brought back to life. Why out of all people him, the most irredeemable person in this show ever? I don't know, but whatever. He knocks over Shinji's bike just to be a dick for a cameo. He's casually walking around in public and no one is apparently scared to all hell. I should also mention that in this new timeline, Yui's deceased, and we last see her and Shiro in a pocket dimension, coloring with their younger selves. The last person Shinji runs into is Ren, and they don't know who each other are, and they look at each other, then move on. And the very last shot is Shinji going to the tea shop where they all worked at, and the camera turns to a wall with the picture of both Yue and Shiro as kids. And that's the end of the show. Whew. And that was KamenRider Ryuki. man, it is. Ooh, went longer than I expected. I was right about being around an hour. But anywho, let's get to the characters. Starting off with our main writer, Shinji Kido. Shinji is not bad. Shinji is not bad. I do still sort of like him, although later on I do have a bit of a problem with him. Like, he says he's going to go in, he's going to fight other riders, but he never falls through on his word. But on the other hand, that's what makes him a good character, but it also doesn't make him a good character because he represents that real humanistic side. Because you can't say that, well, if someone asked you to go kill someone, would you go do it? Like, people talk about, hell, in my American government class, my teacher flat out asked the class, have you ever thought about wanting to kill someone? Raise your hand. It's basically that. Like, what would you do if you were him? He represents that real human side because honestly, if you had the chance to kill someone, would you take it? And he just can't find it in himself to do it. Like, that works, but it also works against him because with some cases like Asakura, enough is enough, and you gotta draw the line, even if it means having to take someone's life. It's an uncomfortable and unfortunate situation where you have to, well, survive for your own safety because people like Asakura exist. There are bad people. Like, there are bad people in this world that exist, and I'm not saying to go and kill all the bad people out in the world. What I'm saying is not everyone is the same, and not everyone really deserves a chance. Like, in this type of scenario, you really gotta fight to defend yourself because there's literally so much at stake, and this is no place for hesitation. But yeah, that's the point of Shinji's character. He is that human. He's that humane side that you could. He's that humane side to look at and say, that's actually pretty true. But besides that, Shinji is also a good character because he is true to himself. He didn't fall in like all the others about the Rider War. He kept going about it in a different way because he clearly knows right from wrong. And that's why he's quite a fine character. Also, he's also just pretty damn funny just for being so damn stupid. But that's another thing. Anywho, moving on now to the next character who acts more like the main character, KamenRider Knight, Ren. Ren is ultimately a good character because he does mean well. He's just a douche. He's the first rider you meet, and he's the one who lasts long enough to actually face the final boss. Yeah, he won, but Ren won, but after watching the show now, he won because Odin, forfeited. He surrendered. I guess I'll just say this now. I would have preferred it if Knight actually beaten Odin, because he is completely capable of doing it. But besides that, Ren had his motive to go as far as he can for his girlfriend, which in the new timeline now, his girlfriend is most likely fine or still in a coma. It's one of the two for sure. But moving on now, let's talk about Zolda. Shuichi. Well, I said it earlier. He's an asshole. Like, seriously, he is just an asshole. And I really can't think of anything besides he's an asshole. But that's not his entire character, though. He does care for Goro, and Goro does care for him. Those two have a good dynamic. And at moments where Shuichi could seem heartless towards, I guess, someone like Goro, he does come off as heartless, but he also does know how competent Goro actually is. Like, really, it just worked. So really, those two really just work well together there. But with Shuichi alone, though, he's condescending, he's cocky. And also, this is something I also didn't mention throughout the review. He had a bit of a crush on Reiko for like the entire time and kept trying to ask her out on a date. I didn't bother to mention that because it didn't matter. And he does eventually get that date, but eventually he dies before he goes to it. And Reiko is just there at the restaurant waiting for him. But yeah, Zolda, he's that prick that if you like him, you like him. But if you don't, you don't. It's completely understandable. But he's also one of the very few riders that also almost survived through the entire war too. But unfortunately, cancer got to him and said otherwise. Anywho, moving on. Raya. Tezuka served a short but well purpose. He was there, he wanted to stop the Rider War, and before he died, he lended Ren his final form, and that's about it for his character. Next, KamenRider Guy. This character I actually liked quite a bit because I liked his way of being an anti-villain. Like, he's rich and he's intelligent, and he can just use those two to just screw with people. And with that said, not to mention, he was and like what I said, he was a little prick too. But he was a little prick, and he just relished in being a manipulator. And that was his whole thing. Like, with characters that are manipulators, they're usually more secretive and concrete about it. This guy, on the other hand, he's straightforward. Like, he's smart enough to pull off a scheme, and he's rich enough to get him out of a problem, since he did get arrested once, but then bailed out. But next, Takeshi Asakura, Oja. He is the perfect villain to hate in this show. Not to mention, like what I said, he is the most irredeemable in this show. Like, he is a character that you should not give a second chance to at all, which Shinji kept doing a number of 2 times. Once, when getting his brother and to reunite the two, and 2, when Asakura is actually using a little girl as a, well, decoy to feed his monsters. Like, Shinji keeps trying to let him go, when really he should not be let go. And Red fucking wanted him to die. And I agreed with Ren too. Like, if his monsters are going to eat him, let them eat him. Because you know how evil this man is. Why would you want to let him go for a kid? The kid would eventually. I bet the kid would have eventually gotten over it anyway, so. Well, then again, I don't know. In my perspective with kids, if they're upset about something, give them time. They'll get over it. Moving on, KamenRider Tiger, Tojo. I didn't really like him as much because I thought he was a bit of a psycho. He was basically there to be another Asakura, but Asakura just does it a lot more. Even when fighting him, it's like saying, "Yeah, you're not me." And it's like Tojo he's that early serial killer route. He believes something that's bad is good and goes about it and shows his actual affection by it by killing people, all for the sake of being a hero. But that's not how being a hero works. Being a hero is just doing good deeds for the sake of doing good deeds, and for the idea of sacrificing one to saving others. Like, that's something I personally don't agree with, because I believe if have the opportunity, save all. But Tojo was just misunderstood is all. And at the end, when he saves that father and son from being hit by a truck, he finally, abruptly learned what it means to be a hero, to value those that are important, and not sacrifice anything that's important. Unfortunately, I did not feel anything for him because of how much of a sociopath he was. So, next, before I talk about the other writers that there are, Odin. Great concept for a villain, but there are plot holes where, once again, and I know I've said this like 4 times now, but you can create life. You could do a million things, but you can't bring a person back to life. Freaking Dr. Frankenstein brought a person that was dead. No. Let me phrase this. Dr. freaking Frankenstein brought something to life. He used a couple of dead human pieces, but yeah, he created life. And freaking, you're on par. I don't even know what else to say. Like, the guy's on par with Dr. Linksano with creating life, but he can't grant something a life. Like, I don't really understand that. How exactly are you Dr. Frankenstein? You can do all this, but you can't do that. Is it supposed to be like Spider-Man One More Day, where not a single person throughout the Marvel universe can help Spider-Man with freaking getting out or taking care of a gunshot wound, but yet they can do all these other things? I don't know. But concept for a villain, good idea. Now, to talk about the leftover writers, Scissors, Emperor, and both alternatives. Both the alternatives, they were there. Scissors, he was there. Emperor, he was my favorite. I really liked him as a person, which is why I like him a bit more, and why I felt sad once he died. Scissors, on the other, yeah, Scissors was there, and then he died. He was twisted. Still there. KamenRider Ryuki's good, but it's mixed for me because of the end game. There shouldn't be any plot holes that are solvable, and that's the problem. Where the show is good is the multiple writers idea. I like the fact that we got so many different personalities of people becoming writers. It shows that not all people are good, which is what KamenRider had under its belt forever. This show is what finally introduces the idea of evil writers, or hell, more anti-hero writers with their own thing and to stick with it. Of course, stuff like now later leads to them eventually joining the main protagonist once said issue is resolved. But seeing some negative and mixed aspects of one's actual character makes it more realistic. And once again, to dive back into the bad, Ryuki has one of the most abrupt finales I've ever seen before. There's one too many things happening, and a few of them being subplots to put to bed when it's the finale. Yeah, you finish something, but it's too immediate. So if I was to give Ryuki a score, it would be 8 or 7 out of 10. Since I cared and liked the characters, but my complaints still stand. And so, that has been it for KamenRider Ryuki. The show, that is, at least. And stick around because there's still plenty of Ryuki Month to go. Because next, I am going to be reviewing the 13 Riders Special. And oh boy, is that going to be interesting. But with that said, thank you guys for watching. This has been KamenRider Blackman. Let's enjoy Ryuki Month. And please do not forget to like, subscribe, share this video. I just burped. And tell your friends about KamenRider Blackman. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.